Alright, on to the next play. Here we have the same kickoff, we have a split, which is fine, except this time it's done correctly. So we have Casey over here, uh, pushing up into ball side, and more importantly, we have Nick taking this path towards the back. So instead of pushing up and out and leaving the net exposed, when the ball went across, he did a quick back here towards the backside post, which allows him to come up and out across here. Moving on. Okay, so here a couple of things are happening. Let me back that up. So first one is Nick has a little bit of a blunder here. Starts to go this way, realizes he already has, I don't know if he's going for boost or if he's going to go all the way across. Whatever, but that kind of slows him down a little bit. You can even, you just got boost, you can even boost straight up through here, grabbing these little pads and moving up on in the way you need to go, if your team has control to clear that gap. But that space needs to be filled a little bit faster here. The other thing that's happening here is Spoopy's ahead of a play here, and we have the touch coming, or we have Casey coming here for the ball. So at this point, normally you're looking at a quick pass for a redirect shot, if that's possible, and you start to see that happen here with between Casey and Spoop. So Casey goes up and Spoop's looking for the touch, but right here you've already kind of overcommitted. So this one's a little bit weird because Casey, in order to take the ball, has put his trajectory in a position that will put him across the net. So at this point, he is committed to going over into this position, which means you don't want to follow him in the same position because that would be a double commit. He doesn't really have a choice here. He has to do it in order to make this touch on the ball. So ideally, he's looking at touching that to you for a redirect here. If that's not a quick option, then you have to do a half rotation. So what that would be where it's also used when a teammate cuts you off, and you just need to spin, or if you get ahead of a play, where you just switch between two people. So instead of going across and back like a normal rotation, because Colt went, instead of doing this, he had to do this and go across. You fix that mistake by going back and replacing the back man. So you show yourself a little bit right here to try to get the pass. If it's not going to happen, you immediately back out, and we'll see how that could have played out this way. So at this point, ideally, Nick should have been a little bit closer up here in a position to be challenging this, to be able to read Andy, and keep a little bit of pressure here. As soon as Spoop sees it's not going to happen, he's booking it back this way. And this is when you do play shadow defense for a little while, just like ones, as if they're trying to take it down. You want to play that distance as best you can, and you want to fill in behind here as Casey comes back around this way, in order to keep the rotations going. So saving time doing this, you're able to just fill this gap that's created by Cole going all the way across here. You can just fill that gap and be right behind Nick. That way he's free to come in and take this touch from a position right here safely, and as long as he gets some kind of touch or slows it down or makes him pass it, hits it off a wall, anything like that, he's done his job. Your main goal in this position is not to defend the net. Your job is to slow down the play so that the other man can defend the net. In this case, that would be Spoop headed back directly this way. Should be the defender coming back to free Nick Nack to come in here. Okay, we're continuing the same play here. I just pulled the camera back to show everything that's going on. Here we have a continuation. Nick is coming in, and Spoopy and Colt are both going wide and across. So here is where we have two people. It's not a double commit, but it is two people in the same position. So now Nick has nobody going back with him. If Spoopy had taken this path right here, then Nick would be a lot freer or safer to come up and have this. And as we see the play continue, Nick comes for a touch and doesn't get it, and now Spoopy's able to give a touch, but just barely. And the reason it took so long is because he took a path like this. He went way wide and around and followed KC in a standard rotation, rather than conceding that position and cutting here. So normally you don't want to do this, but when you do get when someone takes your position, you do have to adjust in a place like this. And if you had taken that, you would have been able to scoop this up nice and easy, probably for a dribble, controlled it up the wall, whatever it is you were going to do with it here. The other problem this play is coming up here is the ball side rotations. So especially if you're already beat, you don't want to be coming this way. You're actually okay to come up to probably about midfield. At that point, you definitely need to be booking it across field on your way back. First of all, you don't want to be in the way as he's coming up this way. Secondly, you're leaving the entire backside exposed, and the goalie has no help on the back. So your first priority needs to be getting back to the backside post here to relieve the goalie so that he can come up and help the man on the ball if necessary. If he's able to control this and get the boomer, you have your cross and you can move up into the forward position, and you have your 1-2, and your third man can come up from the back. But until you know that you're safe, you need to take the defensive mentality and move back around this way rather than cut in here. So we see come in this way, and this is the reason why. So now we have Colt trying to come out from net to clear it, but we have Nick coming back to touch it. So this is very difficult for Colt for two reasons, because now he's having to try to communicate with an extra person, being Nick, on which one of them's going to touch it. They have to do it quick because Comp is also coming to try to touch it. And thirdly, he doesn't have any backside help because Nick's come this way rather than coming around to have his back. So if this very difficult play right here, communication-wise, between the two of you doesn't work out perfectly, it can very well easily end up with Comp coming in and getting a touchdown here to Speedy or Andy coming in, looking at open redirect shots here. Gets a piece, they're able to keep it in play, and then Colt does a nice little turnaround in order to get that up and back. But again, that was a very difficult save. It didn't necessarily have to be, and they've had two decent chances at getting a shot here. The whole point is you want to maximize your opportunities, get the most good shots while preventing them as much as possible. So even though we're able to get these saves, ideally we shouldn't have to be making these saves. And playing against a better team, they're more likely to capitalize on a lot of these things. So just because we're getting away with it here doesn't mean... Skipping a little bit ahead in the game here, we have a play where Blue has just transitioned out of defense to take the ball, and we have Andy here with control of it over here, putting it back while y'all have been retreating here, and we're just making a turn to make a play on the ball here. So as we watch this play out, we have a decent triangle here. So we have Spoopy coming around to have Nick's back, we have the boom out, and we have Colt looking to go across, ready to either move up or move back. And here's the touch from Nick. And right here, Colt abandons the ball to go back for boost. So right here, with the ball being all the way out here, Cole needs to be going out to grab this boost up here and be taking the ball. So Nick did probably the best thing you can do. It's hard to get such a boomer to get it all the way across into that far corner on that transition as a person's coming across this way, because it's just such an easy trajectory to get that. You can go up the wall, control it, take an aerial, whatever it is you're going to do. And then that frees Nick to continue up this way, and Spoopy can move from the backside. Instead, what we have is Colt leaves the ball behind and goes back this way. So now Nick, having just touched the ball, has to chase it all the way across the field in order to get the ball. So he's too far away to be able to make this touch, and he just has to abandon it and come back. And at this point, Casey, coming from out of position, rather than coming back to net to relieve Spoopy, who can come in, freeing Knick-Knack to continue back and around, we have a push out by Colts here, and now we're starting an overload. So everybody's starting to face the same direction, and we're about to be exposing our backside here because everybody's committed to the ball on one side. So here we have the overload. So Spoopy's here, Nick's looking here, Colt's looking here. If Speedy's able to get this touch, any kind of pop out to the inside, Comp has literally 2/3 of the field to work with. Anything in this side of the field is a wide open touch in order to get a dunk here. And it's possible to do some kind of turnaround or something to get here. But even then, with everybody committing here, it's very likely that you're going to get a double commit back the other way, and then you're going to be in the same exact position you were, where you just keep going back and forth. It gets very chaotic. But all of this started because Colts left the ball here and rotated back. In order of importance is making sure the net or the backside is defended. Then you want to have the ball and then fill the gap in that order. So the grabbing boost is something that's done by the backside man, and you can't prioritize that over taking the position of the ball, which is the second most important position. So just make sure that even if you don't have boost, even if that boost is gone, you still have to make a play at this ball in order to maintain possession and keep rotations. Okay, this next play is in our own defensive corner, and I want to show an example of a missed opportunity we have here for what I like to call a half rotation. It happens a lot. It kind of happened earlier on that offensive side that I talked about when the play got cut. It also happens whenever you need to move quickly in order to maintain speed and do things off the ball here. So I'm going to show you how that works. So Spoopy here is looking to challenge here right after Colts made the touch, and Nick is moving around back to have Spoopy's back. At this point, right after the touch, Colts should be looking to cross the field and fill in line behind Knick-Knack here. So let's watch how this play develops here. Spoopy goes for the ball, and then we have a stop here by Nick. You never want to hit the brakes like that, especially just waiting in net. You're better off continuing out this way to at least put pressure on the ball and trust that Colts is going to make a quick turn right here to have your back. So at this point, you end up switching positions so you don't kill your momentum and you just follow Spoop up and out. And then you're going to end up going across if it successfully goes on offense. And if not, you fall in line right behind Colts. And you're able to do these little quick rotations like this as long as you don't actually challenge the ball. If you don't want to come in and hit the ball, because then you're going to be overcommitting with Spoop, who's coming this way. You just want to kind of assist, show, challenge this way. And if you're not going to get the touch, quickly rotate out and let your man come from the backside, because he's going to have momentum and speed to be able to get this hit. Instead, what we see is Nick pauses in net and kind of backs up and lets Colt take the out. So now we have Spoopy out here. Colt is way over here in a position where he can't help this way because he's already too far wide, rather than taking a path this way and waiting until he gets to midfield to cut out, like you could have had coming from net. So he's too far away to do anything. And now Nick is stuck in net with no momentum and maybe boost, maybe not, but definitely not in a position where he can come out and grab anything like this. So he's kind of frozen here. So initially he stopped here for a second, but because he stopped and Colt went up, he gets stuck there. And this happens a lot. People end up just leaving someone in net, and it's very difficult to get back out of that position if the other two people don't actively let him back in rotation, because he doesn't have the momentum in order to keep up. So if anybody tries to scoop up past him using their speed, he ends up just getting cut off and having to stop again and again, and eventually it's going to end up costing you possession or the goal. So make sure you just keep your momentum when you're coming out here, and let that man who's coming across come in the backside to fill your place.